Good morning, children. Welcome back to the second period, standard 9 that is, and we were discussing No Men Are Foreign rather from James Kirkup. Today we will be discussing more devices and some word meanings. Before we begin, let's summarize the poem. The central idea of the poem is universal brothership. Uh, if we talk about the poem talks about the concept of global brotherhood and equality without any place for any kind of prejudice. It can be described as a post colonial poem which talks of globalization and its resultant human unity worldwide. The poem seems to be written at a crucial time, around the late 1940s, when the entire colonial world was revolting against their oppressions. It's about universal brotherhood. Everybody is same. I just wanted to give you example of diversity in our country. Look, this is how diverse our own country is, and people in one region do discriminate against other region just based on their looks. If a northeastern comes to Patna, we are not accustomed to see people with mongoloid look. Certain places Sardarjis are made fun of just because they wear a turban. Tamils are made fun of just because they wear their lungi. Just because they are not similar to us, we find them awkward. But is that true? Isn't everybody free to do whatever they choose to? If we get beyond that lungi, if we get beyond the turban, if we get beyond the mongoloid looks, we are all humans basically. Our skin is same, our anatomy is same, our needs are same, our pains are same, our pleadings are same, right? Our strife is same. We forget all that. We forget all that basic need. What we should think about. We should just think about the clothes, the looks, the tone, the food they eat. This idea is about universal brotherhood. And the second part of the poem talks about, you see, single body. India and Pakistan, for example, let's see. These two were one nation. Just because the uniform changed, we have become arch enemies. Just 73 years ago, we were one nation. And look at the two armies, trying to downplay one another. Down there, trying to. If you go to a Tari border, the evening, both the soldiers try to put their feet higher above than the other. That's the custom. And bad part is, the audiences of both sides, instead of chanting their Zindabad for their country, they chant Murdabad for the other country, which is very strange. How strange and awkward we human beings can be. Why does this happen? Because these leaders we see, they fed money, and they start a war. And when war happens, it leads to destruction. It defiles our earth, makes our earth early, pollutes our air, and that air is common to all. So it's not just two countries fighting. When the two countries fight, they pollute the air, and the air is common for all. So it pollutes the entire world. You see, war, there's a beautiful historic place, and after war, what remains? Just the gate. The entire background has disappeared. So let's come back to more poetic devices. As I said, would be discussed. The first line, if we go, remember, no men are strange, no country is foreign. No, repetition. No country is foreign is the correct form. And what has the poet written? No country is foreign. It is inversion. Beneath all uniform, a single body breathes. Body breathes beneath. 3 words. These are example of alliteration. I give you example of 2. Body breathes. But there is beneath in this line as well. So the 3 words are the alliteration. Like ours, simile, isn't it? It's comparing body of someone else to the body of ours. It's simile. Now, the entire stanza is full of enjambment. From the second verse and third verse, it's enjambment. The third and fourth, again, example of enjambment. Like this, simile. Think about how many devices. I spared the entire period for the poetic devices because this poetry consists full of devices. It has nothing but poetry. You will learn more poetic devices from this one than any other. Now you see the third line, like ours the land, LL, right? Which we, in the last verse, in earth like this, in which we all shall lie. Which we, WW, again we find alliteration. And what does the first stanza tell you? The poet reminds you about the fact that no men are strange. We look at the Chinese and say, oh, his face looks strange. No, his face doesn't look strange. The face of, if you were born in those areas, your face would be same. It's about the race. His race is that. So the faces of those races are like that. If you look at an African and say his face is strange, no, his face is not strange. A Negroid race people have that sort of faces. And besides, it's about his race. Besides, the skin is same, the person is same, the anatomy is same. We both need to breathe, to live. Beneath all uniforms. Uniforms here is a metaphor. Metaphor for lots of things, like army uniform, or your cultural traditional clothing, or the basic cultural practice is also your uniform, right? We move on to the second stanza. Second stanza consists of they too, alliteration. They too aware of the sun and air. Aware and air. What is this? Assonance. You know what assonance is? Repetition of vowel sounds. It's called, in close connection quarters, it's called an and of sun and air and water. Sun, comma, air and water he should have written. But he has written sun and air and water. Why? Why is this repetition done? To put stress on the importance of the fact that you should notice, so that you take notice of the fact that, look at, our sun is same, our land is same, air is same, water is same. The poet wants to stress on that. That shows that we all are equal. Are fed by peaceful harvest. When it's peace, there is harvest, and when there is a harvest, everybody gets to eat. We need to harvest, a person in America needs to harvest, a person in Africa needs to harvest to survive, to get their food, and they could only harvest when there is peace. Otherwise, war and winter are going to make you starve, isn't it? War, you can't harvest. Winter, you can't harvest. Third one, we were talking about the poetic devices. Are fed by peaceful harvests. By what? By in the second stanza are repetition. War's long winter starved is your metaphor. Their hands are ours, and in their lines we read there. Repetition, very I know you must have pointed out before I said that. A labor not different from our own. What is that? Our own. Both the words are begins with O. Is it alliteration or assonance? R sound. O. So it isn't assonance. It's alliteration. Right? Because it's not the two same vowel sound. O and A are two different sounds. Many children make mistake over there. O they see two vowels, it must be assonance. No, it's about vowel sound, not two vowels in close proximity. Remember, they have eyes like ours. That vague. Like ours, simile. Or sleep and strength, that can be one. Sleep, strength, alliteration. Again, don't forget, enjambment is full in stanza 1, enjambment in stanza 2. I'm not waiting to explain the stanza alliteration, enjambment part. Enjambment you all know. There is a strange pattern of repetition in this. You will see remember in the first stanza, remember in the third stanza, remember in the fourth stanza, remember in the fifth stanza. 5 times you have repetition used in this. So, remember used in this. This is a variant form of this. You can't, many student mistake it for refrain. No, it isn't refrain. It is repetition, but a special repetition, because every stanza needs that word. Forceful repetition by the poet, so that you listen to them very carefully. Sleep, strength, I discussed yesterday. Love and land, life, these are all alliteration. And the entire third stanza is full of enjambment. We will take up the next two stanzas and the exercises in our next video. Till we meet again. Goodbye.